Hey, well, thank you, Eric. And also, deep gratitude to Karen behind the scenes doing our tech hosting as well. So thank you so much. And thank you to all of you who joined us. This is indeed Medicine Buddha practice, not necessarily, Monday night revival, but I, I think we're going to need a nightly revival for the foreseeable future going forward. So I welcome you into the space. Welcome to those of you who are new joining us. Again, I'm Lama Rod. I'm here on the ancestral lands of the Creek, Muskogee, and Cherokee people. Deep gratitude to the caretakers of the land and deep gratitude to the land itself for its generosity, for allowing me to be here, to live here, to teach from this land as well. Deep gratitude to my ancestors as well, to ancestral wisdom, um, to the struggle of all oppressed people, past, present, and future, living or spirit, who have struggled to get free, who are still struggling to get free, those of us who are forgotten that we are not yet free, not anywhere close to getting free, to offer deep gratitude to the wisdom and the medicine that has emerged from the liberation struggle of so many people on this land, right? And across the realms as well. This liberatory medicine that I open to and hope to channel and offer to you as well. I offer deep gratitude to the lands that you're also being held by. And if you haven't yet, I encourage you to offer gratitude to the lands that you're living on, and learning on the lands that have been so stewarded and care and taken care of by so many people, by so many generations before us. As I often just encourage people, like literally just go outside and touch the land, touch the earth, right? And as you're touching the land, just imagine that you're pouring this deep gratitude into the land, right? Because the land, like all phenomena, like all the elements, right? Everything is trying to get us free, right? Everything is trying to get us free if we could only pay attention. And we can't begin real liberation struggle until we have the consent of the earth, of the land. The Buddha demonstrated this, of course, in his awakening, origin story, where as he was approaching enlightenment, he touched the earth. That touching the earth was the Bhumisparsha mudra, right? The same practice community, that we have still going on, right? To touch the earth, to check in with the earth, to allow the earth to say, you know what, you can get free. There's nothing holding you back, you know, right? And I think about Malcolm X as well, who said that there's no liberation struggle without land, without the earth, right? Of course, on today, we can think about so many things. I think about, of course, this being the observance of Dr. King's birthday. Um, and as I've been saying over the weekend, if there is anyone who is rolling over in their grave today, it will be Dr. King, right? Because it looks like and it feels like everything that Dr. King and all the civil rights leaders and even before all the abolitionists, everything that they were working for, it seems as if like we've kind of thrown it out the window, you know. But sometimes when you're getting sick, and sometimes, sickness is often starts in different systems in the body, like the respiratory system or the gut, the stomach. And sometimes when the stomach really needs to clear, it purges, you vomit, right? And it doesn't matter, it's never a convenient time to purge. It doesn't matter whose birthday it is. It doesn't matter, how long we've been trying to get well or how long we've been trying to ignore the symptoms. When it's time to get well, the body will respond accordingly, right? And because, of course, we have developed a whole culture around the despising of our bodies, like we actually don't understand that the purging of the body, though the material looks, not appetizing or pleasing, it is still imperative for real healing. No matter what comes out, it has to come out. Right. So think of today as an imperative step towards cleansing the collective body. That shit just needs to get purged. Right. And now we just have to deal with this. We just have to deal with just moving through the purging because we understand that this is getting us deeper and deeper into the real work that has to happen. Right. Now now you know you're sick. You're puking. Now you know you're sick. Right? There's no more illusion anymore. And I think this is why today in this period is so important. Is that like this is the chance, the opportunity just to actually say, yes, this is happening, to accept it. Not to celebrate, not to condone it, but say, oh, this is it. We're purging. Here's the shadow, to use another language. Like, here's our shadow. Right. And there's no more running away from it. There's no more bypassing. There's no more narratives. There's no more co-opting the words of Dr. King, and making something that feels like really beautiful and easy. No, this is it. Like if you want to get to the mountaintop, as Dr. King was saying, you just don't appear at the mountaintop. You have to climb the rough side of the mountain. Right. And it's time to climb that. My ancestors have climbed that, have done that. Right. And that's the liberatory ancestral medicine that's coming through. It's like, yeah, this is ugly. Like this isn't pleasant. This is the cost of what it has meant to give up humanity in order to dominate others. Right? This is the deal that one makes with the devil, right? And it's time to tear all of this down now. Right. And we have to use all kinds of tools, our political tools, our tools of action, our tools of education, and all of that. But we also just as much have to use our spiritual tools, right? Because if you continue to ignore the unseen world will always be, will always, there's always roots of like the dysfunction that we're experiencing politically is always going to be rooted within the unseen, within the spirit, you know? So the disruption of the collective has to be traced back to the disruption within energy itself, within the spirit itself, the unseen, right? And so as we're working politically and within the relative, we also have to be working as well as in the spirits, And that is one of the particular kind of functions of colonization is to disrupt our belief in the spirit, in the spiritual. Right. When you disconnect people from these deep beliefs that are rooted in balance and liberation, and real authenticity, then you have severed someone from a real power. And if you can get a people and sever them from their spiritual beliefs, then you can control them. Right? And I think partially, not completely, but partially, I just think about my ancestry. Partially, Christianity was originally offered to my ancestors as a way to disrupt their connection to their roots, beliefs, right? But what my ancestors were able to do were to take those beliefs and find an even more potent expression of this, right? And when you keep going with it, like when you keep pushing, this theology into a more liberation theology, and that liberation theology saying that everyone deserves to be free, then you have this intense, I don't want to say weapon, but you have this intense spiritual technology that can take us all the way, even when it was offered to us as a way to distract us. Right. So when I play music like this, when I offer music like this is about like real liberation. I'm not talking about going to heaven. Like I'm talking about remembering that I am an expression of God. Right. Like this isn't about denying anyone anything. It's about making sure everyone gets what they need to be well, to be safe, to be happy. Right. Because when I think about God, I think about nothing but love. You know, I think about the potential for us to remember that we're not the trauma, we're not the chaos, we're not the oppression, we're not the pain, we're not the isolation. These are just experiences. These experiences are rising out of the very nature of reality, the very nature of all phenomena, and the emptiness itself, right? And the space itself, which are expressions of God, which are expressions of the sacred dualities of the mother and the father, that all stream back to this one experience of God that is beyond suffering, that is beyond the duality. This is what we're trying to get back to, right? This is what we're trying to lift through and beyond and cut through, right? But you won't get there until you move into the moment that is in front of us, until you tell the truth about the moment, right? Till you actually connect to the experience of brokenheartedness. Like there's no liberation here, without actually relaxing, you know. That this isn't a project of getting tight and rigid. This is a project of opening, expanding, even in a moment, in this very moment, the polycrisis of totalitarianism, of authoritarianism, of fascism, right? But if you've been awake long enough, like none of this is new, right? But what is new is this moment that says, listen, it's just like it's time to put everything on the table now, right? This is the moment that we're living into. Like this is make it or break it. And I have a lot of data to suggest that we're gonna make it, right? But not all of us are, right? Not all of us are gonna make it because, well, basically this is still samsara. Right? Like this isn't supposed to be utopia, you know, that some of us won't be ready to do the work in this moment. And for those of us who aren't ready, or if we know those folks, it's about allowing ourselves to grieve that deep disappointment. Not no matter how much we love someone, it doesn't mean that they're going to get free. Your love can never cross the line into forcing anyone to do anything. When it does cross that line, it's no longer love, it's just violence. And you can call that violence all kinds of things, right? But it's no longer love. Love is patience, you know, because love is. Let's not like love is doing, love is. Like it's not doing anything. We do things, but love is. Love is just a state, right? And love is always asking us to return back to that stillness. And in that returning back, we become. And remember, actually, we don't become, we remember what we are. And this is what you hold on to. This is what you have to settle into because the nature of the state is to distract us, is to get us into hyper reactivity and paranoia, right? It's the state is attempting to center fear in how we show up in the world. And anyone who's operating from fear, just as much as if they were operating from anger, when you're operating from those energies, you can easily be controlled because the fear, the anger is the leash, right? So when you actually have agency over your experience, then who can really have power over you? How can institutions and systems weaponize our deep insecurities against us if we are ourselves rooted in the deep spaciousness and love? And these are the tactics moving forward, you know? Like, listen, I read 1984 when I was 15. So, like, um, I was, that book blew me open. I was like, oh, like, this is possible, right? But what I learned from even that early reading in 1984, of course, added with other things that I've read over the years, is that at some point I had to believe that I have a right to be in my body. I have a right to be with what arises for me as it arises, right? That I can choose a responsive relationship to everything, right? That I can surround myself with beings who are always telling me the truth, who are always loving me. That to come back to these fundamental teachings, particularly in the Vajrayana tradition, which is that yeah, everything in this is a huge illusion, absolutely, right? And that contemplation can give us enough space to work with the overwhelming realness that we still experience in the state. So we have to stay focused, right? We have to stay in tuned. We have to allow ourselves to be tethered to the beings who are here to keep us clear, to be tethered to the natural world, to be tethered to the land, to the waters, to be tethered to the Buddhas, to be tethered to liberatory, wise ancestral knowledge, to be tethered to indigenous wisdom, right? That's still very much being held by communities here, right? We must be tethered to our magic and our practice. We have to be tethered to the communities, right, that are holding us. We have to be tethered to the dream, right? And this is why Dr. King was so important for many of us, right? Because, yeah, he had a dream. It's a cliche. Yeah, Dr. King had a dream. You had a dream. I had a dream. Everyone has a dream. Dr. King had a dream, you know? But you have to bring the revolutionary nature of that dream back into focus, right? That this dream is about the abolition of all systems that have gotten in the way of balance, of care, right, of sustainability, right? And it's a dream that has resulted in the only viable solution that we have. Instead of like trying to work to like make the systems fairer and more gentle, why don't we actually work to get rid of the systems, period? Right? And you have to understand that the healing work here that I'm implying is inherently political, right? Because any system of violence is meant to actually annihilate us. But as you know, as Audre Lorde has taught us, like self-care, is actually a form of warfare, political and spiritual warfare. Because when we establish communities and systems and relationships of care, then we begin to frustrate the purpose, the point of the system. And the system is no longer relevant when we actually choose to center care and to be sustainable, to thrive, right? The wellness of it all, that wellness is about balance, right? Coming back into balance, coming back into an experience of a re-indigeneity, a new indigeneity, to recover, to uncover, to remember that we haven't always been this. Our ancestors were not this, right? To remember that data is still in our bodies, it's still in our minds, it's in our DNA, and we have only to go back and to take this journey back to recover, to remember. And we do this, yes, we make the choice to get free and do this work individually, and then we come together in community and we make collective affirmations to do this together. And it's hard, and it's supposed to be hard, right? It's supposed to be the hardest thing you can possibly do. Absolutely. But it's the only important thing that we can do at the same time. Like, this is the most meaningful work that we can do, is to remember what we are, right? To remember on behalf of those who will not be remembering anytime soon, right? And to remember on behalf of others who are lost in forgetfulness is the heart of the Bodhisattva, of the spiritual warrior, the saints, the new saints as well. To remember on behalf of those who refuse to remember, to work, to love, to uncover on behalf of those who celebrate, who frolic in their forgetfulness, right? Not to create hierarchies, not to create a sense of pity for people, but to simply say, you know what, this is what we do for each other, right? This is what it means to love. I do for you maybe what you don't have the capacity to do for yourself, right? To remember on your behalf. And in my remembering, maybe like that can inspire you to remember on your own, in your own way. This is the wisdom of the elders. This is the wisdom of so many people who have been working for decades and decades. I think maybe you get to a point where it's just like, listen, you can't force people to get free. Just as Harriet is always teaching me, when you can't expect everyone to be interested in liberation, right? But you focus on those who are interested, who are ready. And in terms of Harriet, this train is leaving the station as well. Like, I'm ready to move forward. And it's important to do so, right? And so you're gonna see maybe sometimes a slightly presentation, for me. It's gonna be a little more fire. It's gonna be a little more audacity, as well. I'm gonna cut deeper. And I won't apologize either, So go ahead and like get your feelings together, and get your excuses and all the ways you weaponize anti-blackness and anti-fatness, against me. Go ahead and arrange that. It'll cut time down in half, so we'll just get through it, you know. Um, but if you're here, like you're saying yes. If you if you keep showing up, you're consenting, right? Because at any point you can be like, fuck Lama Rod. And many have. And my prayer has been, I hope they find their medicine. Because I'm not saying I'm not the only medicine maker on the block. There's some real potent medicine coming out of people. This is my brand. You know, here's my brand. I drink a lot of different medicines. Let's just say that. Um, but we're gonna do something. We're gonna get into practice. But I wanted to kind of share this prayer, and Eric is gonna put that up. And this is from Soga Rinpoche, who I don't actually Soga Rinpoche, I don't really know much about. Um, but however, this is a prayer that we've often used in the natural Dharma community, which I think some of you practice with natural Dharma. It's just from the prayer book from the community that I was kind of looking at today, and I said, "Oh, I want to bring this out." Right? And this is, kind of like what we'll be doing in our classic Vajrayana work coming up this year. But I felt like this prayer was something that I just wanted you to have. Because it's been, it's just the opening lines, be not distracted. Be not distracted. Like that has been like, don't get distracted has been the message that I keep getting over and over again recently. Don't get distracted, right? Plant the watchman of mindfulness, right? So pay attention, essentially pay attention. On the path of distraction, the thief of Mara lies in wait because the mind of attachment and aversion is Mara. Mara, not your homegirl from around the block, but but Mara, yeah, in that very real sense of obstacles, distractions, the armies of Mara that visited the Buddha as he was attempting to get enlightened. Mara being like all the thoughts, all the emotions, the fear, the doubt, right? All these strong energies arising, right, can feel distracting. And it's even more so distracting when there are people intentionally weaponizing this energy against us to keep us distracted. And reactivity is a form of distraction because reactivity happens without discernment, right? It feels automatic, right? So we're living in this moment where we're intentionally being overwhelmed. And this is when you plant, as the prayer says, plant the watchman of mindfulness. Plant your intention to stay aware, right? As we talked about last week, oh, happy day, right? Watch, fight, and pray. You have to watch. It's amazing how all this ancestral wisdom always goes back to watching, right? Because that's how one escapes. You're talking about slavery. It's like you had to watch. You had to understand like what the routes were, how to get through things, when the overseer was where, right? And when to time things, but you had to stay watchful, right? So Mara has to be regarded, as the prayer says, regarded as an illusion, free from all duality. So there's the antidotes. Like these energies, these distractions are really arising from emptiness itself. It is free from right or wrong. It just is, right? And once your own mind is known to be the primordial wisdom or primordial purity, free from contrivance, there's no other Buddha, right? So when you're getting clear, right? So when you're paying attention, you're getting clear, right? And you're learning how to not just react to what arises, you're learning how to respond. That response, first and foremost, means that you have seen and you have identified and labeled, and you have let that go. It sounds really familiar. I wonder what really beautiful meditation process that's being described, that this is describing, that like I talk about all the time because I wrote it. I wonder what that is. To see Mara, to see obstacles as the arising of emptiness itself, which is to say, it is arising as the essence of mind itself, right? That the nature of everything is this emptiness and space and energy, be it something joyous or be it something depressing. It's the same nature. And so once you start getting a sense of that, then like you begin to connect to what, of course, is labeled in the prayer as primordial purity, free from contrivance. The primordial purity, that simply being, existing, that simple like it is. No pushing, no pulling, it just is. That resting within the arising of phenomena itself. It doesn't mean you stop feeling things. It means that there's so much space now for that feeling to happen. Right? But as you feel, as you experience, you're also connecting to the emptiness, which is to say you're connecting to the liberatory nature of everything. And that is the Buddha. But maybe I can go further and say that is God, right? God is that experience of complete liberation and emptiness, beyond dualities, beyond suffering. That same God that so many traditions are weaponizing against us, that has been weaponized against so many of us, how God has taken on the form of anything that has been detrimental to our well-being instead of what God is, which is anything that frees us from the suffering. And I learned long ago to be wary of those who want to use God to hurt you. Quite frankly, there are other things to do to hurt people, but like, but God, to be wary of God, to be wary of a weaponizing of God, that has been the source of everything. Well, not everything, but like, it's been the source of so much violence. And at no point am I like anti-theology. I love Jesus and all of that. But at this point, I get this a little more now, and Dharma helped me and Buddhism helped me to understand that. And so, look at your own face. Look at your own face. Now this has two meanings, right? To look at your own face, first is to say, oh, the true face of everything, the true nature of everything. Like that's the nature of things. But the more interesting interpretation of this is literally to look at your face or to imagine your face, right? To gaze upon yourself and to know that you're gazing upon one who is already free, but maybe has forgotten that. To look in the mirror or to just look at the screen if you're on the screen, right? To just gaze at the image on the screen, not my image, I'm already free, but like to gaze at your image and just say, I am gazing back at one who is already awakened, but who's trying to remember that. And there's nothing else to realize. So rest at ease. To gaze upon yourself, to gaze upon your reflection, and to say, I am gazing at one who is a Buddha, one who is awakened, one who has this capacity, this immense capacity to embody love, right? To gaze upon yourself and to say, this one is ready to get free. This one deserves to remember their liberation. No matter how many times people or beings and energies attack us and try to convince us that we do not deserve to get free, I want you in this moment, in your mind or just gazing at the screen in front of you, at this moment, I want you to say, no, this one deserves to be free. This one deserves to be free like all beings deserve to be free. And to keep saying that, and I want you to make this your practice every day to gaze upon yourself or to imagine yourself in your mind, right? To adjust it in any way that feels appropriate, right? But to gaze upon yourself, to think about yourself, to hold yourself gently and say, this one, me, I deserve to be free, regardless of all the suffering that may have caused for others, regardless of all the drama that I still like to stir up here and there, right? Because we all need a little fun, right? Despite all of the pettiness, I, like all beings, deserve to be free. And even as the doubts come up, the doubts which are Mara, because this is how Mara functions as doubt often, and fear and aversion. When all that comes up, notice it. Oh, I don't believe this. There's trauma here. I can't believe this. And when you identify the Mara that's arising, then you say, even you deserve to be free. Even my trauma deserves to be free. Even my fear deserves to be free. Even my aversion deserves to be free. Everything does, everything must be free. And there is nothing, as the prayer continues, right? There is nothing else to realize. So rest at ease. This is spontaneous non-meditation. This is spontaneous non-meditation. And so the last line is take the Buddha seat, which is really, actually, really powerful. It's extremely profound. So take the Buddha seat because there is no other Buddha in this moment except for you. So when Soka Rinpoche says, so this is spontaneous non-meditation, so take the Buddha seat, then you are taking your seats, right? Because you are the Buddha you're trying to remember. You, the one you gaze at, you are the Buddha that's trying to remember their Buddhahood, their awakened nature. And this is the line here. This is the tethering or the attunement here. Like this is the wisdom you come back to when everything is chaotic, when everything is out of control. You come back to this moment. You come back to gazing at yourself, thinking about yourself, holding yourself gently and saying, even I deserve to get free. I am already free. I am just trying to remember that. And I can't remember that if I'm reacting to everything. If I'm not being, if I'm not connecting to being held by the earth, the land, the ancestors, the waters, the air, being held by fire, even in this moment where fire seems out of control, we must also submit to the liberatory nature of fire, to surrender to sky as the father, to surrender to earth as the mother. Again, sacred dualities leading us back to our innate awakened natures. This is the healing, the secret healing of the Medicine Buddha Tantra. This is the secret. It's not about recovering from a cold. It's not feeling well physically. This is about returning back to that experience, to our most awakened, authentic, honest, direct experience. The stillness that even lies at the heart of silence, that stillness that always lies as well at the heart of chaos, the stillness that's always present even in the moment of systemic collapse, the stillness that is always present even in moments of aggression and domination and violence, the stillness of gazing upon ourselves and remembering that our deepest, most authentic nature, it is not the violence that's painting us, that's coloring us. We are not that. We are this. And so in your practice, like in this moment, we think about what we are doing right now to survive, to thrive, to make it through this moment. Think about the labor that we're all investing in this moment to change this moment for something else to happen. All the labor we have been investing to get out of this suffering, this chaos. But just turn a little bit of that attention to acknowledging the chaos. And then feeling the heartbreak, the despair, feeling the hopelessness, the rage, letting these energies kind of surface, but feeling the seat under you, feeling the rising of the earth. And when you're ready, first, just listening to the sound of my voice, listening when I say, you are not the chaos, the suffering, or the violence. These are certainly experiences happening, but we are much more than these experiences. We are, you are, a state of being that transcends the suffering. To open to that truth and allowing that truth to offer you medicine in the form of spaciousness, openness, a deeper kind of tenderness to hold this chaotic energy. The apocalypse is a very potent, important teacher, but its medicine is often misunderstood. Its medicine is often misunderstood because all the apocalypse is doing is showing us what needs to be abolished, what needs to be gotten rid of in order for us to remember. And when we get here, this is the seat of the Buddha. This is you taking your seat as a being who is remembering their awakened liberatory nature. And so this is the practice. Just being here, gazing at ourselves, remembering this awakened nature, holding the chaos, allowing everything that needs to rise, but holding that by not reacting, but just allowing it to be there. You deserve to be free. You are already free. And what we're doing now is the practice of collective remembering. We are remembering together. Just a little bit longer. And so when you're ready, we're gonna just casually shift in to connecting with Medicine Buddha, beginning with our opening mantra, which will be in the chat box. Om Lasange Kino Soha. So as we go into the opening mantra, then eventually into the the main mantra, tonight I will hold off on offering the prayers. I'll just offer that individually, and of course, you're also welcome to offer these prayers in your personal practice. But I'll offer the prayers in my practice this week. Because I want us to go through, just really just kind of fall into this without interruption for the next 10 minutes or so, right? So turning our attention to the opening mantra, the mantra of calling, Medicine Buddha, Men La Sangye Kino, Soha, chanting first, and then going into the mantra 3 times, then ending with And of course, you can listen, you can chant along, right? But as we begin, like staying in this space of just holding everything, gazing upon ourselves. And if you're actually looking at yourself or even just thinking about yourself, right, in your mind, as we begin chanting, I want you to imagine that you transform into, well, any Buddha, but transform, allowing yourself to transform into your most awakened expression, right? Because Medicine Buddha, like all the Buddhas, are simply trying to get us to understand that we are simply we are all reflections, expressions of each other, which means that we are all expressions of Buddhas, right? And to sit and to allow your mind to expand, to open, to transform a little bit, to see yourself as an awakened being, may be very helpful for some of us right now. Right? Don't worry, you're going to come back. It's not going to last long. But a little glimpse will be very helpful right now. So beginning with right? As we enter into the main mantra, Teyata, Bekinze Ma, Bekinze Rasu Sumogate Soha, as we enter into the main mantra, just allowing the mantra just to take care of you, to awaken you, to unveil a different way of being in relationship to yourself, maybe a more liberated way of relating to yourself, a way that you can remember that you still deserve to be free because you are free, and that the Buddhas, including medicine Buddhas, only emanate to help us to remember that. You are already free. So we'll begin. O Teana Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Las Sumungate Soa. Teana Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Las Sumungate Soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razuzumunga yezua. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razuzumunga yezua. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razuzumungarezoa. 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 Te anda begenze, begenze, Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. Teanta Om Begenze, Begenze, Ma Begenze, Razu Sumangade Soa. And now, noticing wherever you have slipped off to, and beginning to call yourself back to this moment, to the seat, to the weight of your body, to the anchoring of the earth, to the sounds around you and other phenomena. Coming back to the body, coming back to the senses, coming back to the world and your life. Allowing your body to take form again, to return back to your ordinary self. Beginning to reawaken your bodies through simple movement, and deep cleansing breaths. And just turning our attention to Shanti Deva's prayer, which is in the chat, which we always recite 3 times. And we'll begin. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for all those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the formless, boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. Well, all right, friends. I think we did something.